Hey, everybody. Welcome to this special edition of Coaching from the Couch, the Washington Commanders update. We are getting into all things off-season and free agency for the Washington Commanders. And I am your host, CWall. Hey, y'all. Hello. How is everybody doing? We got to do all of the hellos and how is everyone doing first and foremost, because it has been a long time since I've actually done a show. I absolutely I've been a guest on shows. You all have followed me all around the sports world. You all have followed me to Super Bowl week, NBA All-Star, Combine, all of the Washington Commanders, the coordinator press conferences, assistant coaches, press conferences. What am I? League meetings. You all have followed me everywhere. And I missed you all too. And I said, you know what? I kind of think, and I've been a guest on many shows. Thank you to all of the shows that had me on as a guest. My colleagues and others that are huge fans of the team have asked me to come on and share about the team. So thank you. But I definitely said after the league meetings earlier this week, I said, okay, it's time. It's time. I need to have a show. I need to do a show. I'm a guest on everyone else's show, which and I love it. But I said it's absolutely time for me to be able to engage with the Bowie TV supporters, community, those that have been following the Washington Commanders throughout the offseason, therefore following me throughout the offseason, so I can share my take, my perspective. You all can hear it directly from me. And we can go on from there. I've already seen Mama Waller has jumped on. The rules are still the same, everybody. Has everybody said hello to Mama Waller? I had to do a whole lot of talking, because I know we're dishing out a lot of content on Bowie TV. Hit that like, hit that love button. We're dishing out a lot of content. So I hope you all are subscribed. But the content didn't involve me for a minute there, for about 2 months. I hadn't done a show myself since January. So we got to go through all the housekeeping. This is a live Bowie television recording. Okay, live Bowie television. Okay, does everybody drop in the chat? This is live Bowie television. Okay, you're watching Bowie TV's Washington Commanders update. Is everyone subscribed? Watch, subscribe, do all of the things. The content will live there. It will be there. This show, along with the weekly DMV Sports Update and all of the new content that you see on YouTube that we're grabbing since being out, and all of the things come on during my show time on Bowie TV, Verizon Fios Channel 11, Comcast Xfinity Channel 77 from 1:30 to 2:30, Monday through Friday. And on Saturday and Sunday, it's on at the noon hour. So I see so many people have jumped in already saying hello to Mama Waller. Everybody give a high five to Darrell Owens, my guy, my Commanders colleague. We can't wait to get back. I mean, we already out there, but we just can't wait to get back out here. So everybody say hello to Darrell. I see so many others have checked in. Our brother DJ Bland, CWall Chaplin, Mazdak, Cameron Mingo, Eric Jessup, Liddell Mann, Stephen Askins. I saw William Collins. You all listen, you all don't want to miss this opportunity. Because indeed, it is an opportunity to ask someone who is inside the building questions. I take questions live. I take questions beforehand. I take questions live. I am going to definitely get into a clip. Well, it's like 13 minutes long, but we're not going to go through the whole 13 minutes of Commanders General Manager Adam Peters talking to local media at the Combine. So we'll get into that a bit. I'll talk a bit about earlier this week in Orlando for the NFL league meetings. Definitely want to talk to you all about that. And then we're going to get into what the show is about, right? The free agency signings, the actual signings, the things that have happened, while I'm getting ready to just jump right in with the Adam Peters, a clip of the Adam Peters presser with local media at the Combine. I want you all to make sure you're sharing this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. Absolutely tag them in, share it wherever you would like, and say, hey, CWall from Bowie TV is on, and you might want to jump in and see if there's any questions you might can get in, because I'm going to try to get in as many as I can. And not only that, just take this opportunity. It really is one. You know, I wasn't even supposed to be doing a show, and I said it's time. It's too much information. It's too much content. If you all are watching from YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're liking. If you're watching from the Facebook streams, love button. We're only doing love buttons. Like buttons are cool too, though, but love buttons are preferred. Just saying. And make sure you're sharing this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends, and tag them in, because we got some things to talk about. I see already this here. Can you express how no one, and I mean no one, knows what Adam Peters and the Commanders are doing in the draft? You all may have seen me say this out loud. Shout out. And whenever I talk about one of my colleagues, tag them in. Say, CWall is talking about y'all. So tag Urban Sports Scene. Tell them I'm talking about them, Wole and Ray, because I told them, Combine week, what it was. They didn't know, and they still don't know. And I can tell you that from Combine to league meetings this week, they still don't know. So, and they don't have to know, you all. They don't have to know. Okay. We still got a little bit of time until the draft. They don't have to know today. They don't have to know tomorrow either. And they don't have to know next week. They don't even have to know the week after that. But we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that a bit more. And I definitely want to just talk to you all. Let's think. We're going to play, don't let me forget, because this is live. This is live television. And I might forget to play a game of Use Your Clues, because I hope you all are using your clues when you're watching my post on Facebook. And I hope you got a pen and paper if you're watching, following the breadcrumbs, because you know how I go about things. So, but they don't know. They don't know. And that's okay. That is okay. On March the 28th, let me assure you all that it is absolutely okay that the Washington Commanders do not know what they're going to do with the number 2 pick. It's really fine. It is. I would also encourage you all to enjoy that. Isn't it a little bit more fun when you have no idea, when there's no leaks coming out? I'm actually enjoying this game, because this is a game too. I'm having a good time. And I told the staff, I said, this is fun. Thank you. Because, a lot of hard work this offseason, but it's good not to know. Let's keep it that way for as long as possible. You all, speaking of the man himself. You all have seen me post that I believe now that my favorite offseason signing just might be that of Commanders general manager Adam Peters. I really do think that's getting my vote. If ever we were to vote, and if anyone ever asked me, I'm already letting people know that would be my pick. As what did you really enjoy the most? Adam Peters. So with that being said, let's see, what can we pull up? Let's go into a clip. I'll just share a little bit from Adam Peters talking to local media at the combine. So here's some tidbits. While we're talking, I'm going to share. All coaches do at the podium. Coaches and general managers speak to all media at the podium, and some coaches and general managers also go off to the side and meet with local media only. Adam Peters did just that at the combine. He also did it earlier this week at league meetings. I was unable to attend on Monday because I had to be with a close family friend. So I had to go do that. I came in, and we'll talk a little bit about the time that I was there. But Adam Peters is always very gracious with his time. So let's check it out here.
I think any trade that's ever been made is a data point to give you a guideline on if you were to make a trade, what the compensation would be. So that's how my best answer to that. You understand what the value is if you were to make a trade, and you use that with a bunch of other comps and your analytics and your admin to think about if that's something you wanted to do. All right, this is what it would look like.
Are there
Come on, man.
Well, what about this from a player evaluation standpoint with regards to that one? What did you learn lessons from that?
With Trey?
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into specifics with Trey. I think the world of Trey. I think as a person and as a player, there's a lot of different things that went into really with him or anybody that go into your success. The level of success you have, besides your talent level and your character and all that. And there's different factors that go into that. So did learn a lot from that, but probably something that I'd rather keep to myself and keep it right up here.
Are there certain must-have traits that you look for in quarterbacks?
Yeah. You want to know those?
Yeah.
So, I think there's a ton. It's kind of like when you're looking for a head coach, where you have so many different traits, and a lot of them blend into each other. And so, but you're looking for the face of your franchise, one, and how they do that. Doesn't need to be a big rah-rah guy, doesn't need to be a big vocal guy, but lead by example, but just be a leader and carry yourself the right way. Obviously, all the talent you want, especially now. If you have a mobile quarterback, that certainly helps, but you have to be able to play the position first. I think that's first and foremost. You have to be able to play the position before you can, look into all the different things in terms of being mobile.
How much maybe has that changed since you started as a scout with the Pats and Brady playing at such a high level to kind of what quarterbacking is now, Lamar, Mahomes, all these guys, it's shifted?
Yeah, the game shifted a lot. I think you think college football for a lot of that. When I was starting, I think in New England they just traded Drew Bledsoe, and Drew Bledsoe was the prototype, and then Tom, obviously. And it's evolved a little bit, and there's a place for any type of quarterback, as long like Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback, but he's not a mobile guy. But then Lamar is like a whole different set of problems, and so there's a lot of different ways to play quarterback very effectively. I do think you do have a few more options if you're mobile, but that's certainly not an absolute by any means.
Where do you at with evaluating your own players and the free agents and everything like that?
Yeah, with our free agents, we're still working through that, and this is a great week to have talks with agents and talk about our own free agents and really see how that all works together. It's a big puzzle you're putting together, whether it's you're signing your own free agents, evaluating your own players, and then looking at outside free agents as well. So probably come up with a lot of decisions coming out of this week, which will be good prior to free agency, but we're still really in the middle of that process.
Is Cam
much of an
Burrow
impact does that players franchise or transition do you expect to
philosophy, I think it's just a case-by-case basis. I think, but this year, no. I don't think we're going to do that.
Does it matter to you that some of these quarterbacks aren't going to throw?
I think everybody, that's the world we're in right now, where Christian McCaffrey started it, not playing in the bowl game a long time ago. But I think just any decision you make in life, if you're going to be a top 5 pick, you got to make a cost-benefit analysis and how is this going to help you versus how could it hurt you. And if you could fall a lot further than go up when you're up there. So every guy makes the decision that's best for them, and I think you have to respect that.
Outside of quarterback, how do you kind of approach this week? Do you target particular positions that you want to kind of talk to guys with, or is it just kind of a blanket canvas for you as you go through kind of player interviews and get to knows and whatnot?
Yeah, I really appreciate the non-quarterback question. First of all, 'cause, I mean, that's not what we're here for. We're here for everything, but with anything, with every player, you can't really focus. You don't ever know what you're going to do in free agency. You don't know how guys that are already on the team can adapt to your scheme, and a guy who was a backup could be a starter in the new scheme. So you really have to uncover turn over every stone, right, for everything, because you never know when you're sitting there in the 6th round and there's a player that maybe, I didn't look at him because that wasn't a big need, and then that's the highest player on your board. So you have to do all the work, and with scouting, or like a lot of our jobs, I'm sure your jobs are the same way. There's a lot left on the cutting room floor where you're like, oh gosh, I just spent 3 hours watching that guy, and it never came to fruition. But you have to do the work.
Now that you've had some time to look at the whole roster, have there been any surprises? Maybe an area that's better than you thought, and an area that we actually do need to address that in the non-quarterback division?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I don't want to get too into specifics about our own guys, but there are guys that may have been great fits in the previous schemes that aren't as good, and there's guys that maybe weren't the best fits in the previous scheme that really fit us. So that was really enlightening going through that, because when I started, I'm looking through a 49ers lens, and would this player fit for us? But you really have to look through the lens of your own team and your own coach and your own scheme. Luckily for us, DQ's defensive scheme is really multiple, and you can use people in different ways, and same with Cliff's on offense. So you can really get creative, and there's no set spots, for the most part, which is really cool.
All righty, you guys. I want you all to drop in the chat. There's so much more we could have talked about, and of course, and to be fair, some of my questions actually came at the end of that presser, but I wanted to make sure you all heard some of the tidbits, and go ahead if you caught on to some of the things that General Manager Adam Peters was saying. Drop your thoughts in the chat. I am your host, CWall. This is a special edition of the Coaching from the Couch Washington Commanders update, focusing on all things free agency, or basically all things this offseason. I know I have not done a show since the Washington Commanders season has ended. I have been a guest on plenty of shows, and I see my guys from Urban Sports Scene have dropped in. They have definitely had me on their show a time or 2 or 3, and I really appreciate them for that. You all listen. Make sure you still got time to tag a Washington Commanders fan, family member, friend in this chat, because this is an opportunity for you to ask me on Bowie TV what you think. Let me know. Ask me a question. I'll answer it or not. But it doesn't hurt to try. But drop in the chat what you think about that clip from Adam Peters. And I see many others have joined in: Corey Sanchez, Gregory Green, Lamar Bland, Mona Lisa. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep this live TV going. Thank you all for hanging in there with me. So I will get into some of the questions that I've been asked, but I think this is probably a good time for me to jump to league meetings. I went to league meetings earlier this week. And I love, this here from Mazdak. Again, use your clues And don't let me forget some things about the number 2 pick that I do want to share. Was not able to talk to Adam Peters, also known as AP, on Monday because I did not arrive until super late on Monday after not being able to attend and then dealing with several travel delays. But being safe is always best as long as everybody and myself was safe. And so Tuesday morning, bright and early, it was very early, good breakfast, but Dan Quinn got to the table early. So we were about 7:35 in the morning Eastern time talking to head coach Dan Quinn. And I want to highlight, some of you may have seen this. If you're following me on X or on Facebook, then you saw that I posted this. I think it's very important to share this with you all. These are Dan Quinn's responses to questions that I asked that I think is important to share. So you all, I'm going to share what the question is and want to share the written response out based on the transcript. Okay, so throughout this offseason, we've continued to hear Adam Peters, Dan Quinn. If you all caught the assistant coaches interviews that I did on Bowie TV, please make sure you go and check those out. You really need to listen to all of them, because if you listen to all of those assistant coaches interviews, it makes even more sense, the free agency signings. But we'll get into that in a moment. But they talk about having a collaborative approach to players and just how they do things. And at that end of that clip with Adam Peters at Combine, he mentioned how players fit into, he was looking at things from a 49ers lens, but it was how players fit into their scheme. So what I have here is a question to Dan Quinn about asking him to describe that collaborative approach. So I'll read it aloud as well. I've been really pumped to be a part of the process here. So from Adam's team, honestly, with Adam and Lance, that's Lance Newmark, and Lance Newmark and Martin, like, to see how those guys work together has been really good. And so first part is you do an evaluation, and often you want to do, and that's often what you want to do, although we're doing collaboratively, you want to do it separate first so you can get your own opinions for them and your own thing. So then you can bring that to the table. This is what I saw. This is the game I watched. This is what it looked like. Then you have good discussions about the player. The thing I'll try to do with every example when Adam and I are together, when we add a player onto the team, and say, this is what I see him doing for the team. I see him being the starting this. I see him being the backup this. So as long as I can make sure I'm always given a clear vision of what to do, then for him, he'll know where to select that person, where the value is, and on and on. So that's kind of what the collaborative looks like for me, is I'll always give him a clear vision of what it would look like on our team if that player was here. Because it's not just, this is what I think, it's what would he do here if he was on the team. So I thought it was very important, because I'm already seeing things, and I've already had to check a couple people, like, who told you Dan Quinn doesn't have any input to the roster? Who said that? That's not true. Not true at all. So this is why I asked the question. I wanted to know more about that collaborative approach, and I thought it was just important to get that, to be able to share that with you all. Love button, fire emoji in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about. And I do appreciate this question from Greg Green. Thank you so much on the compliment with the questions. I try to do what I can. I really do appreciate that. And absolutely, John Kime and JP are the coolest. And you can tag them and tell them, CWall is talking about y'all, and she said that you all are the coolest. Let him know I said that. So, jumping in to another question. And speaking of JP, credit to him because the media availability with Coach Quinn was almost coming to an end. I mean, Coach Quinn got there early and he left late. And I made that joke. I was like, okay, Coach, you got here early and you left late because we've been talking for a very long time, which was fine. It was just a joke. So JP made the comment, and you all have heard me talk about this before, asking Coach Quinn, like, have you ever drafted this high? Because number 2 pick is a high pick, of course, right? But drafted at number 2 also means the team is really bad, right? Unless you inherited, or got your draft picks from a trade or what have you. But Dan Quinn said no. He's not drafted this high before. So before we could close out, and I Coach Quinn definitely saw me trying to jump in before he got up at the table. He looked at me and smiled. He said, "Candy, you have a question?" I said, "I do." And this is what I had to ask him. It was, how much pressure do you feel to get this right? Now, I have been on my whole entire high horse of they got to get this right. They must get this right. So I said, let me put my assumption to the test, because I know that's what I'm saying. And I know when I go on shows, and I know that's what I believe as a journalist, and just in general, based on just everything that has gone on and has happened with this franchise over the years. You got another opportunity at a number 2 pick. Let's just be for real. The last one, it didn't work out here, right? High picks have not worked out here. Let's just be honest. How much pressure do you feel? This is Coach Quinn's response. I think at any position, you want to just make sure you nail it. Whether that's the 2nd pick, or the 2nd round, the 3rd round, because I know all of these players potentially have a chance to have a really high impact. So I love all of them. Honestly, I love the 5th round pick that are the, Atlanta Falcons defensive end, Grady Jarrett's, that turn out to be a Pro Bowl player, and knowing that there's a specific role for that guy. So I don't know if I feel extra or anything. I think there's probably more excitement than extra, because knowing what different people at different spots can do, like, that's a really big deal. So drop in the chat, what do you think about Coach Quinn's responses to my questions? I like the engagement. I really enjoy what they're talking about, and I see more folks have joined in. Tina Moore and Kayla as well. Kayla Brandt. How do you all? We're jumping right on in. We're doing a special here. If you all are just tuning in, from the Coach from the Couch series, the Washington Commanders update. This is a special free agency edition. So I think that I once he said that, I said, well, I guess he's right. You want to get every pick right. It's not necessarily okay, well, this is the number 2 pick. Like he said, okay, whether it's the 2nd pick, whether it's the 2nd round, whichever round it is, I want to get all the picks right. I want these picks to work out. And so I got to appreciate that, right? Now, and this is not in his response. This is still for my own just journalistic point of view, and you got to get it right, just because historically the high picks just have not worked out in Washington for varying reasons, but it just hasn't for an extended period of time. It might work out for a short term, but not a long term. So I think this is something that needs to work out for a long term. And if it doesn't, here's something else that I've been sharing on shows, and that if it doesn't work out for the long term, I would like to see a contingency plan in place. Because if it's one thing that we do absolutely know about Adam Peters, is if something doesn't work out, and that was a bit in that clip, right? When he was asked about quarterback Trey Lance, hey, didn't work. Didn't work out. Understood. Made trades, moved up to go grab Trey. Didn't work. All right. But there was a contingency plan in place. And that contingency plan was Brock Purdy. So, hey, may not work as long as you have a backup plan. And he did. So that's my thoughts on that. Commanders fans, drop in the chat how you're feeling. Drop in the chat. I'm going to get the questions. I'm going to get the questions for sure. And if I can remember some that you all put in there, I'm going to remember those. But are you all ready to get into the signings? Because I really wasn't planning on talking about the Sam Howell trade. I wasn't. If you all tag David Harrison, let him know I'm talking about him. I wasn't going to talk much about the Sam Howell trade, right? Let him know I'm talking about him. Say, CWall is talking about you. And we did a show, right? Because while we were doing the marathon of free agency signing press conferences, it was so funny. I call him, if I'm having trouble pronouncing somebody's name, I just say, call your name and say the first letter of your last name. And so when we were interviewing Nick A, and I saw phones, my phone started going off. I could tell others' phones were going off. And I was like, OMG, what happened? It happened right in the middle of me asking a question. And I continued to smile and I asked my question. And there we go. Sam Howell had been traded to the Seahawks. So I did a lot of that conversation and talking with David Harrison on Locked On Commanders. If you have not seen that episode, make sure you go check it out. Make sure you check him out anyway. Outstanding person and colleague. I'm always typically on his shows as well. So we had a whole conversation about that because that all went down in the middle of me asking a question. And I had to go back and ask other questions to be like, well, could you have just waited until after the press conference was over? But anyway, let's get into free agency signings on the offensive side. On the offensive side. And we'll do grades. I would want you all to drop in the chat what you all think the grades are for offense, free agency, defense, free agency. And we're going to do special teams too, you all. Okay? Because, hey, it's a lot going on. And the re-signings matter also. Okay, so check out this list. What do you think? And while you all are dropping in the chat what you think about this list, they had a lot of money. They had a lot of money, and they were being very smart. What I'm using for this season is I'm talking about discretion, right? Discretion is key. And we'll get back to this, but I want to share this with you all on camera. Discretion is key. Strategic foresight is key. And just being smart. Just putting on your thinking cap. Just using your brain is smart in this. Discretion about what you're going to discretion, strategic foresight, and just use your brain. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. And that's great. That is really great. And so I see some grades coming in. Joe Harris gives this an A. Steven Askin says, not bad from the pickups, B-. So we see some re-signings here, right? With Cornelius Lucas and Jamison Crowder. Depth signings here. And I think a lot of folks were excited about Austin, Eckler. Zach Ertz as well. I know folks may be talking about, they may not, these folks may not be in their prime years, but I would like to say that they've made very using strategic foresight and what's needed. They got some depth there, and they have some people in the space that are leaders, have been known and been around other leaders, have been really just they have some people who have been around and have played at the highest of levels, and a couple of Nick A from Kansas City Chiefs, he's a champion. I know some things didn't work out as well, last year with Andrew Wiley, and he's a Super Bowl champion as well, but it's still good to have that depth. And of course, with the position coaches knowing a lot of these guys, that relationship piece is huge as well. I see this comment here about, they didn't like the Marcus Mariota signing. I wouldn't panic about that. I really wouldn't. You got to have somebody, you got to have depth. You have to have somebody who understands the game, can be in the trenches, can support if of course you end up drafting a quarterback at number 2 or at any round. So I think he did a great presser. Enjoyed the conversation, talking to him a great deal. So I think that it's not anything to panic about. It's all working together. I wouldn't panic about it though. Moving on, shall we, to the defense free agency signings. And I think I also left in here, I believe, the special teams. I meant to split them out and I left special teams in here as well. So this is defense and special teams. Check this out. Take a look. Some depth, a lot here. Let me know what you think. And let me know also, what do you think is still missing? And this goes back to a question that I was asked. Cameron Mingo, if you're still on, I know that you asked me a question to address about what else do they still need? I mean, hey, they still, the quarterback, the definite quarterback for me. If we go back to offense, I still think that, the left tackle position, for sure, I'm still going to say, and I know it's far-fetched, but I'm always still going to say, bring back somebody, find the next Trent Williams, please. But I guess that's everybody's ex. Everybody wants the next Trent Williams. That's not just the CWall thing there. So, and defensive end. Let me put this back up. I think there's a lot at defensive end. But I think that with all of the conversation around quarterback, it has, kind of been swept under the rug that Montez Sweat and Chase Young were traded, right? So you have to fill that spot. You have to fill that void. And they got, they re-signed F.A. Obata, picked up Clelin Ferrell, Dante Fowler Jr., Dorrance Armstrong, but I don't think they're done there. So defensive end for me is still a kind of, let's see what they do with that position. I think that without a shadow of a doubt, we've been saying for years that the linebacker position needed to be tended to, better and more. And I absolutely think Ken Norton Jr., the linebackers coach, along with Joe Witt Jr. as the defensive coordinator and Dan Quinn as the head coach, I think they absolutely addressed that for sure. Improvements, on safety. So it's for I'm hey, no complaints from me, none whatsoever. And I hey, I've made the joke to several at the league meetings earlier this week. I said, let's just all be honest. This is the busiest we have been in free agency. You know, I know I started the business 7 years ago, and have been on site since 2018, but let's just be for real about this. This is the busiest. And I wanted to not go unnoticed the changes on special teams. Hey, Brandon McManus Brandon McManus is still very much a household name. And nobody knows, nobody cares about the long snapper until there's a high-low snap. Somebody does something wrong. And hey, they address that as well. So it remains to be seen. It's because there's still, hey, can y'all keep a secret? And I don't know if this is a secret. Love button, fire emoji if you can keep a secret. Okay? Seriously. All right? This is heavy duty stuff that I'm about to share. All right? And I want to address this question from Kenny B. Thank you so much for joining. They still got money. That's the secret. And I don't even think it's a secret. Did y'all know that? They still have dinero. They still got money. There's still money. And we know that there's another designation date, right? June 1st, where more players will technically be released, right? After the June 1 date. So there's still money. And I saw the question, Kenny B, about wide receivers and potentially looking at a wide receiver to, potentially replace Curtis Samuel. I just believe that at some point, every position they will add, whether it's to really bring a powerhouse name, or it is to bring more depth at that position. I'm just anxious. I just can't believe. I mean, this was over 20 moves. The Commanders made over 20 moves in free agency, and we had to interview all those people. I just kept saying, okay, well, wait. Let me ask the question before you bring in anybody else for us to ask questions too. If they were here last year, do we have to talk to them again? Yes. Oh man. Okay. Over 20 moves. All right. And I think that's a big deal, Commanders fans. This is a big deal. And they still got it. It's still more free agency left, because those that can be released after the June 1st designation date. And there's still a draft to tend to. So it's money left. So let's see what happens. Let me ask you all a question, and then I want to answer it too, because I've been asked this, and it is, well, do you think the team is better? And I see this question about who do you prefer at number 2? This is like the question everybody asks everywhere all the time. I answer it on every show. And this is my answer. Everybody asks this question to all of us all of the time. And I don't have a prep. People are like, you don't have a prep? No. I mean, not now. Why? Because Adam Peter, they can be trusted. Okay? They can be trusted. It's not my preference. Who cares? Like, I'm not I'm a moves watcher. And I posted one day, well, does the signing of Marcus Mariota mean Jaden Daniels? Is that what that means? Is that what that move tells us? And then I said, this is also intriguing. You want to know what I want? You want to know what my preference is? For the head coach and the offensive coordinator to be on the same page about who the general manager, who they pick. That is what I want. Because there's been a very long time since at least those two positions, head coach and offensive coordinator, and then you bring in the general manager as well, you bring in the scouts, have actually agreed on the quarterback. I want there to be an agreement. That's my preference at number 2. And even at number 2, here's the other thing. Let's go ahead and get on into this because I've been just really wanting to say this. And I need y'all to tag David Harrison again because he said something so brilliant. And this is a spoiler alert to the show that he and I did while we were at league meetings, which I believe will air tomorrow. And he made such a brilliant remark, and tag him on any space or wherever and say, CWall is talking about you and she called you brilliant. Tell him that, okay? And did y'all tell John Keim and JP I said they were coolest? Well, they're cool people because everybody's the coolest, but make sure you tag them now. He said, and let's go back because this goes back to, here we go, everybody. See, I didn't forget it. This goes back to using your clues. And people want you so bad to say, who do you want? You know what I want? I want there to be agreement about whatever they do at number 2, because that is something that this organization has not had in years. That's what I want. Now, the other flip side is watching their moves. Does Marcus Mariota mean Jaden Daniels? That's the flip side of that coin. I'm not necessarily saying if that's what happens, then I'm going to be like, I'm a genius. But hey, whatever they want, as long as they want it and they're like, this is our guy. Okay, all right. But David Harrison said something so profound because we're just watching the moves, right? And New England Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo said, everybody knows what Chicago's going to do with the number 1 pick. Soon as they traded Justin Fields, right? It was like, because for a split second, I have to say, they got me good. Because for a split second, I said, I think they're just going to go ahead and keep Justin Fields. Now, this would be a plot twist, wouldn't it? They didn't. Everybody says, oh, well, hey. Everybody knows what the Bears are going to do with number 1. David Harrison says, well, you know what that means? The draft starts at number 2. Because here's the truth. Nobody knows what the Commanders are going to do. They don't know. And please, everybody, I'm not real sure. Is the fan base traumatized? Real conversation. Is the fan base traumatized? Because why is there such a need to know what they're going to do today? And listen, Russ McCray, I just gave an answer. I said maybe Marcus Mariota means Jaden Daniels. And if it does, then I will hopefully look like a genius. But I don't, whatever y'all like. I gave an answer. But I really just want them to be together. But I'm like, why on earth, how on earth, before pro days are even over, would they know what to do? How they know who to pick? A month in advance? That's not how this works in real life, everybody. It's not. And you all know that was one of the things that I said I was going to stay true to, is being authentic and sharing with you all a little bit more and educating on how this works in real life and in person. They don't know. And and trust me on this. They're not going to be there the night of like, well, pick one. I doubt that the night of. But today, No, they don't know. And it's okay. It really is. All right. It's true. It's all right. And so it's just business. And I want to go back to the genius of David Harrison. Did y'all tag him yet? Tell him I told him I called him brilliant and a genius all in the same night. You got to tell him I said this about him, all right? And so he was like, the draft starts at number 2. And I was like, whoa, Adam Peters is making us work for these paychecks. Oh, man. When you say it like that, David, my goodness. My goodness. The draft starts at number 2. And I asked this question on my page. I said this. And I asked this question for a reason. How many NFL teams need quarterbacks? And I'm not talking about, because I saw a lot of people was like Cowboys, and I'm like, you guys, I'm not talking about your preference and whether or not you like them or not. I'm just, which teams need a quarterback? Meaning they need to pick a quarterback early. Because they just, they don't really have a quarterback. They might have somebody on the right, but they don't have, a quarterback. Which NFL teams need a quarterback? Is everybody doing this? Hold on. Everybody, write this down. Write this down. This is good. This is good. Just use your clues. So, if, in fact, there's other teams that need a quarterback, Well, since you don't know what the Commanders are going to do, what you willing to give up to get your quarterback? If you scared the Commanders gonna pick them, what you willing to give up? I'm not promoting giving up the number 2 pick. But what I am saying is there's absolutely no harm. And I mean, like, what's it to you? What's it to you? I mean, somebody could make a crazy deal to get number 1 too. It's not like the Commanders are, they're not the only one looking for a quarterback. So it would be crazy not to consider it, in my opinion. I'm not saying do it, but I'm saying it's a consideration. And if somebody, hey, I don't know. If everybody starts to say, well, wait a minute. I really, really want Drake May, and I'm not sure if Adam gonna take him. This is what we giving you for number 2. Hold on. We want Jaden. Well, what if we want Jaden too? Well, how bad do you want Jaden? Because depending on how bad you want him, you might can have him. I don't know. I'm just throwing some things out there to be considered. Or you might be saying like, nope, we're keeping our spot. Right? Listen, no harm in the consideration. That's all I'm saying. No harm in it. Does anybody think there's harm in it? There's no harm in it. We'll talk about it anyway. It's a lot you can do. It's a position of power. But I want to go back to the point of the question, and you could tag JP again, tell him I'm bringing him up, of asking Dan Quinn, have you drafted this high? Hey, listen, y'all, for real. And I've told you all this all throughout the season. Picking at number 2 isn't what winners do. Okay? And even Dan Quinn was like, well, no, I mean, I've never picked this high. No, you haven't. Because you've been on pretty decent teams, you know? And here's the thing, you all. People are wanting an answer when pro days aren't over. Use your clues. Do I need to show the use the clues thing again? Do I need to show that? Pro days aren't over. Pro days happen at the schools. And then the teams have pro days and invite players in. Use your clues. Use your clues. So the consideration and the conversations and all of that are going to continue to happen for probably the next 3 or 4 weeks. This is it. Nobody will be like, that's who I want. That's not how this works. No. You know, it has to be, whatever they do, it has to be something that we don't find ourselves what they gonna do with the number 2. Because you got to understand, Bowie TV covers the Baltimore Ravens, baby. Ain't nobody even asking them what they doing, what they pick. I think they pick like 30 or something, right? Because that's not typically a conversation of winners. I don't know about you all, but I like winners. I like winning conversations. You know, what we talking about? Oh, who's left? Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me check the board. All right, that's the way. Okay. Yeah. So whatever they do it this year. And that's for the whole entire thing. But just make sure we're not back here next year at the top with 400 signings during off season, okay? Because this is a lot. But I love it though. I love it. And I think you all love it too. But you know, don't love this space too much, you know. You love the expertise, you love the competence, but you know, hey, the whole overhaul is kind of like, oh, it's a lot going on. Are there any more questions? I've addressed the position. I think wide receiver, Kenny B asked that question. Oh yeah, I think they'll pick up a wide receiver. Sure. Yeah. Everybody will have new people. What else? What else do I need to share? Because hey, listen, after all of the things I said, I got to do a show, and I appreciate you all joining all of the other shows to know what's going on. And while you all are thinking of more questions, let me also just drop. I also have a foundation where we teach transferable skills to youth and young adults. All of the things, we are in a pilot, and we're having a fundraiser April 21st. So make sure you are on the CWall email list. If you're following me, you've seen the flyer, or go and look for the flyer. But we can talk about that. I was trying to give you all some time to see if you had any questions. So we'll see, you know. I think some important dates, right? I think off-season study, film, all that starts next week. Of course, preparation for the draft, Commanders Pro Day, the week after that. Media is not invited. I'm just playing, but it's okay. But there will be a pre-draft press conference with Adam Peters. I believe it is the second week in April, which is, I believe, the same week as the Commanders Pro Day. And then there's draft. And you all know that I am not going to the draft. I will go ahead and tell you all that before y'all start asking me, are you going to the draft? No. Because, I mean, they're Bowie. Let's be clear. We will have presence everywhere. Let's just say that before, I speak too soon. But I know it is not the plan for me physically to be at the draft. And as many of you know, the business happens on low at the facility, right? Once the players are, do their kind of national media availability, they come to Washington, and we get to meet them in Ashburn and do media availability there. So as of right now, at this moment, as I am speaking, there are no plans for me to go to Detroit, but hey, things change all the time with my schedule now. So, um, you know, but hopefully that stays the same. And I get to be in Ashburn for most of that time. But you all have joined. I hope this was enlightening. I hope I was able to provide you all with additional insight. You all, if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to Bowie TV at BCMC TV Maryland. We have a ton of content: sports, entertainment, beauty, health and wellness, all types of information about what's going on in and around the community that we're sharing on a regular basis. For those in the area, you can find the channel Verizon Fios channel 11, Comcast Xfinity channel 77, and specifically my shows. You can catch them every single day now, you guys, Monday through Friday, 1:30 to 2:30, and on the weekends during the noon hour. I sincerely hope you all, I asked y'all, I said, hey, you got a question, you better come and ask it. And again, shout out to David Harrison of Locked On Commanders, Wole and Ray of Urban Sports Scene, oh my gosh, I hope Ken and Reggie of the Burgundy and Gold podcast. All of these shows are shows that have me on to share my expertise and my insight being on site, on location with the Commanders. And I absolutely do appreciate them recognizing me as an expert in this field and on the team. So thank you guys so much for always reaching out. And you guys, for all of you all who are watching, it's never too late to share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends so they get all the insight and intel as well. I hope you all enjoyed it. And hey, listen, I said I wasn't doing a show again until August. That clearly wasn't true. A show on the channel because it's not in season, but hey, we had to come back. I had to do this for one night. We will do a draft recap show though. We do a draft recap show, and those are typically the ones where I bring my friends and we have a good time, don't we? And we talk for a long time and review the draft and free agency overall. So once we get that date locked in, you all will be the first to know for sure. So you all listen, stay safe. Thank you so much. Keep watching, and I will see you guys again soon.